JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. June 25th, 2024, about 34 minutes to the open. Talk really quick about the markets, some of the names I traded yesterday, some of the names I'm looking at, and go from there. But the S&P, the SPY's down 3 sessions in a row. Tried to muster out a rally yesterday, pulled back in the afternoon, then late day pullback to close in a red. On the flip side, small caps, solid day yesterday. So maybe that's a little silver lining. Watching, I guess 543 or so, which is kind of where we're trading right now. Some decent support, and then maybe some chop. There's not much in the way of catalyst this week. We have the PCE data on Friday, the preferred gauge of inflation for the Fed, and I would assume that's going to come in somewhat either in line or cooler than expected. I don't think it's going to move markets too much. So outside of that, it's all headline driven, and right now it's about Nvidia. Right, would it lose $500 billion in market cap over the last couple sessions? Makes for great click material, right? Great headlines. Bouncing here, 121, almost 122, closing 118. I think at some point you see some of these other names. I think those will bounce back, at least this week. So that's the SPY, and then take a look. The IWM I was talking about yesterday, 201.29 is the 50-day moving average. Closed at 202. Let's see where we are right now. I just got to pull it up. 201.22. So hopefully that can find some footing today. And maybe, I've said this for the last couple months. I'm hoping small caps can find a bid. Some of these names start to rally. You can take away this narrative where you all you see is folks talk about the big market cap names leading this rally. There's the breadth of the market is not strong, but I think we can kind of erase that if some of these names start to rally. So that's kind of the overall market. I put on the watch list. I think if we break 543 this morning, there's some weakness, and I think we hit 542.50 on the SPY in early hours in the pre-market. Then I'll look for some possible hedge position, maybe probably Broadcom, because those premiums have kind of come down. So that's that. So some individual names, and Chewy, I added some more strikes yesterday. I actually went and got some January calls. The more I start looking and digging into Chewy, the more I think this is a name that probably is going to rally into the 30s, 40s, and maybe get some squeeze fever, right? It's solid short interest, 13% short interest. The company back-to-back quarters of earnings that bested estimates. Earnings are returning to growth, which instead of being negative growth, they're finally showing signs of a turnaround, and they have decent margins comparative to other names in the sector. I think it's going to trade over 30 on its own merits, and then you have the backdrop of a possible, I wouldn't call it an intervention, but some kind of action from GameStop. GameStop has a huge cash hoard. Are they going to start to look with Ryan Cohen at the helm to maybe get a stake in Chewy? If that happens, I think the stock trades into the 40s. Then you get the GameStop crowd in. Maybe it's 50, 60, and so on. I don't want to be in a position where I look at this and I have a conviction that it's headed higher and not add more strikes. So I did that yesterday. I may look to lock some of my lower strikes on the July calls if it trades into the 28s today, and then just ride the rest. But I really like Chewy. You pull it out and you look at the long-term weekly chart on Chewy, and not saying it gets to 120 that it did at the end of COVID at 2021, but maybe 50, 40, 50, just based on its fundamentals, its earnings, its $500 million share buyback authorization it did on its most current earnings report. I think it trades much higher. So that's kind of the thought process there. Also, I posted on FinTwit this morning. They have a huge the July 19th 30 strikes had a 19,000 increase on the open interest. So I think the open interest was 10,000 going into yesterday, and then this morning it's nearly 30,000. So not doesn't I don't want to be. I don't think open interest or call volume or put volume is the be all end all for a stock, but I think it just bodes well for more upside. So that's that. Gilead trading, all the way up to its 200-day moving average, 72.42. I posted yesterday. I think that was a big breakout spot. Tried to break that yesterday. I think it hit 72.07. Couldn't break through. I may look to close the last of my July strikes and then revisit, just because it's one of those names. It's not, it's similar to HPQ. It's not volatile. It typically is not volatile. Doesn't trade more than 1-2%, but it's HIV shot, of course, spiked the stock, and now it seems like consolidation. But to me, consolidation may be some more profit taking. So I might look to close the last of those. Um, Dell, 3 sessions in a row to the downside, and I have to look. It was over 160 on Thursday, and now was down another 5% yesterday. Sitting here at 139. I don't think the story's changed. It's more of a sympathy move in regards to Nvidia. I still think 180 plus in the coming weeks. Not going to add more strikes just yet until I don't like to catch a falling knife. So still like Dell to the upside. Turns. So that ADA conference over the weekend, you saw names like Altimmune, Turns, VKTX, all rallying on positive data. Turns was up. It almost tested. Did it go? Yeah, it hit exactly $8 yesterday before pulling back to close at 752. Still like this name. Uptrend is finally reclaimed the uptrend. Like that one for upside. Nothing's changed there. Same with Altimmune. So I was looking at those $9 July strikes on Friday. I think they were 30 cents. Went and got those yesterday. I think this squeeze is higher, 33% short interest. And then we have this backdrop of the GLP-1 sector. It's funny. I don't know if it was Barron's or Wall Street Journal. Someone posted an article around weight loss. So when you do these GLP-1 drugs, it of course your hunger is, you don't eat as much and things like that. So what it does is it causes you to lose weight, but is it muscle mass, is it lean mass, and all those buzzwords. And supposedly ALT is trying to go after the folks who don't want to lose the muscle mass and lean mass based on taking the GLP-1 drug. So maybe that's a solution. They have some great data on that. So I think that could be construed somewhat positive. So we'll see how that plays out. And then last but not least, I added square calls on a break of the 200-day moving average, 64.83. It was at 65 and change in the early morning. Then it tried to break over 65 in the afternoon. Great story. And if you haven't listened to my rants over the years, the transaction sector as a whole, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, those all, it's surprising they still have not been disrupted, especially with the advent of cryptocurrency. I mean, how in this day and age can folks still get a 2-3% cut on a transaction, right? It's just with all these other options that are out on the table, and you look at it, Square, PayPal, all these other um, possible options for folks to transact. It just blows my mind. And then to see MasterCard and Visa at near all-time highs, I mean, I think there's a lot of area for these names to really, gain some traction. So when you see me grab square calls, that's some of my rationale behind that. But then you take a look at the stock, bottomed, great earnings in May, then it reversed course, and now it's down here right at lows, consolidated middle of June. And then, if it breaks 64.83 and holds that, I think it heads into the 70s in the coming days. That's square. Oh, Spotify, I was looking for some inexpensive speculative calls. Continue to look for those. Spiked all the way to 319 into yesterday afternoon, then pulled back to, close it. Hit 311 before bouncing. Still looking at that. And then last but not least, it's not a name I've talked about, so I'm probably not going to talk about it too much because it gives me too much angst or negative pushback from folks. But ENVX came out with a press release this morning saying they won a contract and they don't even say, so their big buzzwords was IoT, Internet of Things, but they said they've been awarded. So it's like awarded. It's like, oh my gosh, we're going to award you. Like these are the words that are associated with a company that is desperate for instilling confidence from their shareholders, right? I mean, if you have a great product and a great customer base and things like that, these are not the words that you put in your press release, but unless you want to keep your stock high. But anyway, rants for other days. But they said they've been awarded a contract from an unnamed California-based technology company to provide silicon batteries and packs for mixed reality headsets. So, I mean, if you look at first glance, you're thinking, oh, Oculus, Meta, based in California. So it's like, why? Number one, why would they not release who it is, the amount of the quantities, the payments? So they said they received an immediate one-time payment. So there should be an 8K filing saying we received XX amount of dollars for a one-time payment, and they're gonna to support pack dimensions. So the company is going to pay him for pack dimensions, which doesn't make sense. And then further payments for the delivery of both sample and production quantities. So they don't have, it's like they don't have anything, but they're going to send a press release so they can pump their stock, right? I mean, I get it, under the guise of being fully transparent to your shareholders. You want to keep them updated on things, but you have to balance that, right? You have to issue some kind of details. And the thing is with ENVX, they haven't issued any details at all ever. And when they have, it's been all speculation, right? They used to have a slide of all the potential, they used to call it revenue funnel, and they had all the customers. They listed pretty much every customer that would require a battery: Samsung, LG, Apple, um, BlackBerry, all these names. And then they expect the investors to just hold on until they eventually they get a real contract. So to me, and this is why I'm so skeptical of the company, they come out with all these press releases. They've done smartwatch press releases, um, leading electronic company, all these over the years with no concrete contract, right? So anyway, uh, been wrong. I mean, I haven't talked about it in some time. I mean, it was trading at $8, $9 back when I started, when it came to my attention. Now it's up here at $14. Don't be surprised if I add some speculative puts on the name, but it's similar. I talked about Elfin and Nikola. These names can defy gravity for longer than folks can remain solvent, because that's just the nature of the business. Then once things, maybe they don't get contracts, or there's no revenues, there's no profits, then maybe when the stock finally starts to trade where it should be, you're not in a position. So I'll continue to be selective, strategic, and go from there. That's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on the audio later. Rock and roll.